council meeting to order of August 16th, 2022. Melissa? Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Here.
Lorick.
Here.
Dukenyak.
Here.
Marshall. Here. Gale.
Here. Item of
Guzekowski.
sorry.
Here.
Item of note, I will be maintaining my vote for the 5th District tonight in all matters of for discussion and action. Have a pledge of allegiance. Yeah, do you want to lead us?
The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3 is approval of minutes of the July 19th, 2022 meeting. Check those over, and if anyone's got any corrections, amendments. If not, we'll entertain a motion. Good, Steve?
Yeah. Kirkowski make a motion to approve the minutes of July 19, 2022.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorick.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Guzekowski abstains.
And Kirkowski.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Moving on, recognition. Item number 4 is a council proclamation. Consider council proclamation 22-02. Congratulations to Terry Tavita, 2021 Oak Creek Citizen of the Year. Christy, you want to read that into the record?
Sure. Council Proclamation 22-02. Congratulations to Terry DeVita, 2021 Oak Creek Citizen of the Year. Whereas the Oak Creek Citizen of the Year Committee conducts an annual search for the person who, in its judgment, is most deserving of acknowledgement because of loyal, unselfish, and patriotic service to the community. And whereas the Oak Creek Citizen of the Year Committee has selected Terry DeVita as its 2021 Citizen of the Year, for which he will duly be honored at a recognition dinner on Friday, August 26, 2022. And whereas while Terry Tavita grew up in Minnesota, he chose to further his education at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, where he met and married his wife, Linda. Together, Terry and Linda raised a daughter, Serena Mary, who was born in 1994. And whereas it was early on in Serena's development that they noticed some developmental difficulties, and she was diagnosed with a rare disorder called Arcadia syndrome. And whereas Arcadia syndrome is a malformation of the brain seen almost only in females and causes many different physical and intellectual developmental issues. Those afflicted with this condition rarely live beyond their teen years. And whereas as a result of Serena's condition, the family spent many hours at Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, where she was treated and received many surgeries. And whereas as Serena grew and eventually became wheelchair bound, the family built a new ranch home in Oak Creek to accommodate her special needs. And whereas over the course of the years, Terry and Linda searched out knowledge to help their daughter's condition, met the founder of the Arcadia Foundation, and soon became inspired to help the foundation in an effort to help others afflicted with similar circumstances. And whereas Terry started a golf outing fundraiser in his home state of Minnesota, where his mother still lived and was a big source of support and prize acquisition, before moving it to St. Charles, Illinois for the next 8 years, where the Arcadia Foundation was started. And whereas in addition to golf outing fundraisers, Terry organized a beer and wine tasting fundraiser initially held at the former Rafters Supper Club in Oak Creek, before moving the popular event to the Oak Creek Community Center for the next 10 years. It is estimated that through the fundraising efforts of Terry and his family that well over $1 million has been raised for Arcadia syndrome research and awareness. And whereas it was during this time that at the age of 19, Terry and Linda's daughter, Serena, passed due to complications from Arcadia syndrome. Shortly after the passing of Serena, Terry found he still felt a strong desire to help others and continue with various volunteer events and fundraising efforts. And whereas Terry is a member of the National Arcadia Syndrome Foundation Board, he co-chairs a golf outing in Wisconsin Dells, which raises funds for UW La Crosse gymnastic programs. He has organized volunteers for a 5K run at Germanfest, which benefited a homeless shelter, and has organized a team for a broom ball event for 15 years at Wilson Park. And whereas Terry is a member of the Oak Creek Lions Club, where he has been able to put his tremendous fundraising and organizational abilities to use helping others. He took over the Lion Club's premier fundraising events and boosted their attendance, popularity, and proceeds in the last year, led their largest fundraiser, Lions Fest, to its largest grossing festival in club history. And whereas through his commitment and passion for making a difference in the lives of others, Terry Tavita has rendered immeasurable hours of community service and raised countless dollars and is truly deserving of this recognition. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the common council of the city of Oak Creek hereby congratulate Terry Tavita on being selected the 2021 Oak Creek Citizen of the Year. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be spread upon the minutes of this meeting and that the city clerk be, and she is hereby directed to transmit a suitable copy thereof to Terry Tavita.
Thank you, Krista. Fantastic story, difficult family circumstances, but Terry levered that into doing some significant good for the community as a whole, and obviously his efforts are being recognized for that fact. I know some of you wanted to chime in, know Terry personally, so I'll let Rich lead off
Yeah,
there.
thank you, Ken. Alderman Dukniak, 3rd District. I've had the honor of knowing Terry for about 15 years, and I met him as he was raising funds for the Accardi Foundation through a wine and beer tasting event at the community center. The guy is just passionate about helping others, and works tirelessly at raising money for causes that are not only near and dear to his heart, but causes that benefit the community as a whole. So not only his work with the Accardi Foundation over the years, as Krista had read in during the proclamation, he does a heck of a job with the Oak Creek Lions Club as well. Terry Tavita, again, a true treasure for our community. This is an honor that is well deserved, and we look forward to celebrating Terry at the annual Oak Creek Citizen of the Year banquet on Friday, August 26th.
Anybody else?
I was just going to mention that I will be joining the people that are going to be there to celebrate Terry for his fine work. The guy is just really tireless, and everything he does just seems to be so natural and effortless. So he really is one of a kind, and we're lucky to have him. So
Thanks, Chris. Good. Nobody else? We'll take a motion on item number 4 then.
Dukniak moved to approve Council Proclamation number 22-02. That's congratulations to Terry Tavita, the 2021 Oak Creek Citizen of the Year.
Marshall, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
all right.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
And just a point of housekeeping, if anyone in the audience or anyone listening online is interested, item number 14 is going to be held. So if you are waiting around for that particular item, which will be a little bit, you can rest assured you can leave early. So that said, moving on, public hearings. First of 2 will be item number 5. Consider a rezone request submitted by CR Devco LLC to rezone to RD1, 2-family residential, and to establish a planned unit development on portions of the properties at 2231 West Putes Road, 8843 South 13th Street, and 8950 South 20th Street. Chris, do you want to read that in?
Sure. Public hearing number 1 is to consider a request submitted by CR Devco LLC to rezone the RD1 2-family residential, no change to the FW floodway, FF flood fringe, or CW shoreland wetland conservancy districts, and to establish a planned unit development on portions of the properties at 2231 West Putes Road, 8843 South 13th Street, and 8950 South 20th Street. The applicant is CR Devco. The property owners are CCR Herzbrock III Limited Partnership and WRE Herzbrock III Limited Partnership. There follows the legal description, and the date of the notice is July 6, 2022.
Doug?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Doug Seymour. I'm the Director of Community Development for the City of Oak Creek, and this is a public hearing and a request to rezone portions of the property at 2231 West Putes Road, 8843 South 13th Street, and 8950 South 20th Street for CR Devco. The current zoning is there's a mix of zonings, and it's a rather regularly shaped property. You can see that on the screen, and hopefully for those at home can see that on the display as well. It's important to note that the proposed rezoning only includes the easternmost, essentially 2 lots, and that's being done, carved out as part of a CSM that has been previously approved by the Common Council. The rezoning and planning and development is for a conceptual development plan that will include 134 single-family attached residences in 22 ranch-style buildings in a mix of 4, 6, and 8 units per building, all single-story. Again, the lands to the west of this, you can kind of see on the map where the public street comes down from Putes Road. They're remaining zoned exactly the way they are. There's no development plan for that future area to the west. The home models range in size from 832 to 1,700 square feet. The architecture, and you'll see some renderings of them as well, do include some kind of base masonry with lap siding and vinyl siding, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Each one also has an attached 1 or 2 car garage. Here's the unit breakdown. I think the key points are that there will be a public street that's coming south from Putes Road, terminating in a cul-de-sac. The remainder of the streets within this development will be private streets. They will not connect to Grays Lane. They will not connect to 20th Street, with the exception of an emergency access road that will be closed to the public and only used upon emergencies through the fire department. That will connect at the southwest corner of the site. You see the unit mix breakdown there. I won't go into that. If you have any questions, we can certainly delve into that as well. The buildings themselves are organized really with the garage units facing the private street. So the living area of the units faces either a natural area or the open space as part of the courtyards, with the garages facing what essentially are the private roadways or alleys. Stormwater is accommodated on site, as indicated, along with detention ponds, multiple detention ponds adjacent to I-94. Here are some concept elevations. You can see, again, these buildings are single-family attached in the sense that they all have exterior entrances. They each have their own garage. They come in a combination of 4, 6, and 8 units, as you can see from, and I'll go back to the site plan, you're going to see how that lays out with that proposed as part of the PUD and the general development plan. Just going to scroll through very quickly some of the elevations of the proposed units. Example of a 2-bedroom floor plan. It's difficult to read, but I can blow that up if someone wants to see that. Part of this property had been part of a secondary environmental corridor. The applicant has worked with the Southeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission to identify the features that were present as a result of that corridor, and they have worked to align the site plan to minimize the impact upon that. The council may be familiar with environmental corridors in the sense that we've been dealing with primary environmental corridors on other projects. Secondary environmental corridors do not carry the same regulatory weight as primary environmental corridors. It is merely a recommendation from the Regional Planning Commission. And at that point, the applicants have worked with the RPC to relocate, or will work with them to relocate some of the plant species that made that part of the environmental corridor and to minimize it where possible. Plan Commission has reviewed the proposed rezoning and the proposed PUD, including conditions and interest restrictions that are attached as part of your report this evening. They have recommended their approval. The one thing I will bring out and note is that at the Plan Commission meeting, there was a request for a deviation on building materials. Our material standards call for a certain percentage of brick and masonry and don't typically allow for vinyl siding as a primary building material. Plan Commission had a very lengthy discussion about that, given the scale and scope of these buildings being single story. Ultimately felt that it was appropriate to allow vinyl siding as part of this plan unit development. I know that there may be differing opinions on that, and I would invite and encourage a robust discussion about that this evening. With that in mind, this is a public hearing. I would request that anyone has any questions or comments regarding the proposal rezoning and planning and development, please approach the microphone, give your name, address, and proceed to address your comments or questions to the Common Council. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. We'll make 3 calls for public commentary. Consider this your first call. Welcome. Name and address then, please, when you get to the microphone. There you go.
Fawcett, 9040 South 20th. First, just a point of clarification. The developers in their request requested both vinyl siding and thin brick. And the Plan Commission at their meeting on the 24th, I believe it was, May 24th, the motion was actually to approve the conditions and restrictions, including thin brick, as part of the planned unit development submitted by CR Devco. Yet when I go over to the planned unit development draft, which says approved by Plan Commission on 5/24/22, I do not find any reference to the thin brick. Is that included or is it not?
It is, and brick is an allowable building material, so it didn't necessarily need to be called out as part of the conditions and restrictions.
That's not the case, what was approved. I agree with the brick being approved, being allowed, 3-inch brick. What was asked for was thin brick, which was less than the 3 inches, about half the thickness. And that's what the motion actually says, including thin brick, not the 3-inch normal masonry brick.
The kind of conditions restrictions call out a minimum width of 3 inches, so that's correct. So thin brick is not a permitted building material.
It's not.
Not according to the conditions and restrictions that were recommended for approval by the Plan Commission, that would not be included. That they recommended a 3-inch thickness.
I guess I'm not following what's being said, because it was very explicit. The request from the developer specifically says thin brick, non-structural, less than 3 inches.
Well, the developer may have asked for anything.
And that's what the motion was to approve, was the thin
Let me
brick.
check the motion. It may have not carried over into the draft for the conditions and restrictions. One moment, please. If you have any other questions, please feel free to.
Well, no, this is.
That's your
leads up
primary
to-
point? Okay.
Well, not the, it leads up to something
Okay.
else, no.
Looking at the minutes that were approved by the Plan Commission for that meeting, it does say that the motion by Alderman Guzikowski did include the thin brick. So that is an error in the conditions and restrictions. And thank you for pointing that out. We'll make that correction as part of the copy that, if approved by the Common Council.
That being said, my main purpose is to object to the variation or variance that's being given in this. Less than 6 months ago, the Common Council, after a lot of effort, adopted a new zoning code. There was a lot of thought put into that code and all the different parts of it. And building materials was one of those. And the building materials for multifamily, the building materials for attached single family do not allow or provide for vinyl or thin brick. It specifically says you need full-size brick, 3-inch brick on the first story, and you can use the thin brick on the upper stories, but not on the first. Vinyl's not permitted. There's a provision where it's allowed if you decide to do that, but I think that would be a mistake. You're setting a precedent. After all that work that went into the zoning code, I think it would be bad precedent to change that at this point. It just doesn't make any sense. That's even pointed out in the report to the Common Council from staff. If you look at the second page of the Common Council report, down at the last paragraph towards the end, they state that, However, concerns for vinyl siding as a primary exterior building material have been expressed to staff following the Plan Commission review. It will be the Common Council's discretion whether to attach, whether the attached conditions and restrictions should be amended to address the vinyl siding materials. I would urge you to not go ahead and approve that portion. Not opposed to the development, not opposed to the rest of that. I just think you're making a mistake by changing those materials. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Call number 2. Hi, name and address for the record. You can pull the microphone down there.
Barbara Linder, 2411 West Putes Road. Now, I know what you're talking about today does not concern the property right next to me, but it is a zoning thing, so it is something that would say that they are going for this zoning, and I have been opposed to that right from the beginning. In fact, I've been opposed for that since the 80s. This is not something new to me. We had other developers, and I have opposed that every time. And also, was there a study done on traffic for Putes Road? Because I'll tell you right now, you try to get out of my driveway from 7 o'clock until 8:30, 9 o'clock, you are sitting there waiting, because it is one of the main entrances to Oak Creek, and we have a lot of traffic. We've got all the traffic from the Honadale property, we got traffic coming from Franklin, we got traffic coming all over into Oak Creek, and now you want to put all these homes in there. So how many houses are in there? Figure at least there's one car for every house there, probably 2. So I just don't get it. And you're going on a single lane road for all this traffic? I mean, the same thing happens at night. When people are getting out of work, people are coming home from school. Putes Road is a very heavily trafficked road. Was there ever even a study done on this? We would like to know, because we are people who live right on Putes Road, and this is coming all out onto Putes Road. And to us, it seems like you don't care about, these few 6, 8 houses on Putes Road at all. And we're the ones who deal with all the traffic. And between the zoning, and it's like you just don't listen to anything we have to say. The property owners, you don't care, or you don't take us into consideration at all. I come here for other meetings, and you're trying to take off the roads in the back, everything else, and say, well, we don't need those. Well, I fought for those roads, so everybody on that road would have some access if we, in further use, want to sell our back property. And this council seems to think that, we don't matter because we're just a few houses there. And I think it's wrong. I mean, we're all taxpayers. We have been paying taxes, my husband and I, for years, and his parents did before us. And nothing that we say seems to be coming across to you at all. It's what the developer wants. And like the other gentleman said, you're making concessions for them and the people who actually live here and want to do things further ahead. We would be told no. We wanted to put a pole barn up, and we were told, oh, sure,
All right,
you can put it up.
we've gone on past the 3-minute time. Wrap up your argument then, because,
Well, this is basically what I have to say.
okay. We appreciate your commentary. These are obviously been well vetted, and this has been going on. This has not been a short-term project. Many committees, many staff members have taken a look at this, and we'll see how this shakes out through the discussion we're going to have here in a moment. Call number 3, last call for public commentary. Great. Close the public hearing then and turn over to discussion and commentary from the common council. I guess first of all, maybe the most obvious thing, Doug, you mentioned the fact there was some, Uzi and Craig, maybe you had share the building material discussion, maybe where that headed and how they kind of shook out, and the fact that that's something we need to change or incorporate differently in the PUD or not PUD and some of the mechanics thereof. So, kick off that discussion.
I was not present at that planning meeting.
Yeah, understandable.
And I am trying to recall exactly where we went with all the conversation. I know we were looking at trying to give the work with the developer for the needed materials for the building materials.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, and I'm trying to find it in the minutes here to see where we all ended up, but
Doug, what are the mechanics if there are not incorporated in the PUD in terms of specific building materials or variances of the adopted standard?
Well, if they were not incorporated in the PUD, then at the time of site and building plan approval, they would be held to the standards which are in the code, which require the full 3-inch brick, and they would not be allowed to use vinyl siding as a primary building material.
So as the ordinance is currently written, it would allow for a variance to the adopted building standards?
Yes, I believe the conditions and restrictions were drafted based on, and with the exception of the clarification on the brick of the Plan Commission's recommendation.
So the Common Council has discretion to decide whether or not, in fact, they should take that recommendation.
They always do, yes.
Great.
So Ken, if I may,
Yeah, go for it, Andrew.
I defer to the folks on the Plan Commission, of course, and the staff that was there, but I did watch the tape of the meeting, and I had some conversations with several of you and the mayor after the meeting, and there was a lot of discussion about the building materials. And I don't think that, personal opinion is that because it was included in the PUD ordinance itself, there was also a lot of discussion that there was some discomfort with the deviations, but that the Plan Commission gets a kick at the cat during those site and architectural review. It was not an endorsement of the request per se. It was, we'll be able to see these materials and touch these materials and see what a more finished product would look like when we get to that point in the process. This PUD, and why I think it's important for the Common Council to have a concerted discussion about that, sets the table for what the Plan Commission will, I guess, have for dinner at that site review. So I think it's worthwhile for you all to have the discussion. And just some additional background, in addition to what the resident said, with our new zoning code, in addition to several multifamily developments, more traditional, denser multifamily, vinyl materials are accents. Even at the Oaks at 8100, we had a lot of conversations about that. Appreciate the guidance given in the staff report about the neighboring adjacent single-family detached neighborhoods deploying a lot of vinyl materials. This is a different product than that. So the most recent, I guess, similar development that is a side-by-side single-family attached is the PUD that was recently approved for the side-by-sides at the near Abendschein Park on Drexel. That did not request, I don't think, nor is looking to employ the vinyl material. Most recently, Lakeshore Commons does not have those in the PUD except for maybe accent materials. That's many. And also the Mod Home project does afford the vinyl usage of more predominant vinyl. However, those are single family detached homes similar to the homes that are in the neighborhood that was referenced in the staff report. So when you look at vinyl board and batten, vinyl shake, and then vinyl lap siding with, I don't know what the height of the brick base is. Certainly you have to grapple with whether that's the long-term product you would like to see there. Or similarly, you could include it in the PUD language and kind of kick it back to the Plan Commission for a more detailed and hands-on review of those materials. Certainly the elevations in the staff report don't do it any justice, and it's a little difficult to kind of discern in the elevation what that's going to look like, but certainly, that's something to grapple with.
So, Andrew, just for the rest of the council, the risk here is adopting an overly loose PUD that will not give the planning commission enough discretion to manage the materials.
I think, you seven, how many ever are here tonight, you've delegated the authority to do site and architectural review, but your policy choice is in the PUD ordinance that you approve. And certainly if there are things in the PUD ordinance before you that you don't agree with or would want to see modified to any degree, that should be your discretion. Now, if you don't want to give that deference, kind of giving the overall umbrella to say, well, we say it's okay given what the Plan Commission sees with the general site review and architectural plans. Notwithstanding what I just said, should have led with this, and not to bury the lead here, this type of development is right up the many objectives. It checks off a lot of objectives in your community strategic action plan. The investment in the community is very much welcomed. It fits a niche, a need really, not a niche that we are trying to attract here. It's a great product for, I think the target audience is maybe folks in older stages in life. It fits a lot of the bill for what we've been trying to attract to the community. So certainly this has nothing to do with the overall land use on a challenging piece of property, but some of those final pieces to make sure that it is the product you want to see there, and it stands the test of time.
Alderman Dukenyak, 3rd District. Andrew and Doug, you may have an answer. What was the reason that the developer had given for that request to use the vinyl siding? I read in the report and in the minutes about trying to attain this national green building standard. Was that the primary purpose for asking for that? I had also read in the report that the thinner brick had close to the same insulating property as the 3-inch, given that there were some other changes going to be made. Was this a price?
Yeah, I don't want to speak on behalf of the developer, and they certainly are here and can speak on their own behalf. But it was that was part of it, and part of it's the cost, and trying to keep these attainable.
Sure. So, are these the developers, or okay, great.
Great. You want to introduce yourself and name and address for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Ryan Swingruber, 228 Raymond Avenue, Barrington, Illinois. So I'll address the first question. Absolutely. So from a waste standpoint, we commissioned a report to try to meet a bronze certification for a National Green Building Standard. One of the reasons for that is for our financing. If we want to use federally insured HUD permanent financing, if you meet a bronze certification, you get a reduction on your interest rate. But it also lends itself to a better product long term for various reasons that our certification would outline. And we'd be happy to provide the scorecard that we had commissioned that reviews our plans and then takes some of these considerations into account. The other thing, in full transparency, it's a cost issue too, more specifically to the siding. Fiber cement is more expensive than vinyl, but we put together a presentation to show the exact spec we're using, because I know it's very difficult when you look at a rendering or if we bring you a picture, but if we could show real-time photos of the materials being put up in the greater Madison, Milwaukee area that were provided by our rep, I think that would do it a lot of justice in terms of the quality and some of the factors. But no doubt the vinyl is somewhat more cost effective, and these are considerations we have to take into account. I appreciate you bringing up the need for this housing, and I want it to be known. I know the term multifamily is being used, and they are rentals, but this isn't a traditional multifamily development. We are developing 2.68 units per acre on this 50-acre property, which is significantly low. I would challenge another multifamily developer to figure that out. And the reality is when you get more density and you do a garden style or a medium density like the projects around us here in Drexel Town Center, you get more units, and it makes it more easier to pay for some of these upgrades. And so I think we would certainly take into account if council feels strongly about the brick, I think we could revisit that. But I would encourage and ask if we could share our presentation on the vinyl, because I think that's a general term, right? There's different levels and cost points to vinyl. And certainly what we're proposing isn't generic, it isn't cheap, and we're more than happy to give the exact specification and show what it's going to look like.
Another question for the developer while you're getting hooked up there. Is there the opportunity for you to provide a sample of the type of vinyl that you're proposing to either planning or the council? My colleague Greg and I were just talking about, the vinyl on our homes, and everybody I'm sure has seen the waves that take place if they have a grill placed too closely to the side of their house. And again, I'm guessing, but that's what I'm doing, guessing that advancements have been made that prevent that.
Yeah, excellent question. And we were under the impression that, that we have to go back to Plan Commission and present these physical samples. So we are in the process of putting together material boards, because if I show you one piece, it doesn't do it justice, right? You need to see it collectively on the building and what that looks like. But yes, absolutely. We are in the process of working with our local Milwaukee rep to bring substantial material boards for the next meeting. But I apologize that we don't have them now, but we do have a presentation to show what those materials will be.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so,
This will be quick.
I'm sorry?
I assume this will be quick.
Yes, yeah, very quick. So we can just go past the table of contents. We're just going to show you some surrounding homes for context, because once again, we're single story, single family attached, but what we're bringing is very similar to the architecture nearby. These are existing homes adjacent to the property that show a combination of board and batten, vinyl, and also masonry on a lower level. But just context of what's around us and being respective of that. Moving forward, you'll see the renderings. We've already discussed these. We have the exact specifications listed. We'll share this with Doug, and then when we bring the samples in. But most importantly, when we get through this, we'll show the actual pictures of the materials, and we'll speak to them. So this is the lap siding. It's the certainteed siding that we're proposing. It's a 5-inch with a rough cedar finish. So this is on a single-family house. In the entire facade. This is the actual gable shake. It's used on the entirety of the building. White trim, white windows is exactly what is in several of our schemes. This is the gable shake up close again. Once again, the exact certainteed spec. And then this photo does a great job because it shows multiple gables where they're using the lap siding in one on the left. On the right gable, the larger one, they're using board and batten. We're proposing that in some of our building schemes. They also have the shake and then lap siding throughout the house. And so the certainteed rep that sent this to us, these are high-end, single-family homes that are currently under construction that they're supplying our exact material specification to. And so this is the intent and the look that we're going for, a modern cottage, colonial-type look. And the last couple slides just speak to the performance specification, because the question was posed about waving and things of that nature. Well, the spec that we're using, is moisture resistant. It doesn't rot. It doesn't have mold. It's fire resistant. More so, it's technical rating than a fiber cement. It doesn't need to be painted or maintained like fiber cement. And I know early on in this process, with our neighborhood meeting and talking about what these buildings would look like, number one, we're long-term holders of the real estate, but number two, it's in our best interest that these look fantastic all the time to garner market rate rents. And so less maintenance is a good thing, less moisture, less rot. And so some of the characteristics that are provided with our spec are absent on a traditional fiber cement. And so.
Can you go back a couple slides? Sorry. Yeah, sorry, right there. Nope, there you go. Is that the style of siding you're proposing?
So that's one of the styles. So if we had several renderings, we're using a board and batten look on the white. We call that our modern farmhouse. It'll be a colonial white with black windows with the board and batten on the first floor and then in the gable. And then we have a gray scheme which has the board and batten in the gable, and then on the first floor is lap siding. And then the other two schemes, which is a Pacific blue and a forest green, these are the exact color specifications with certainty, is gable shake and then a lap siding on the first floor. And so we tried to create some variety in the four building schemes.
And again, to be clear, these are vinyl products that you're showing.
Yeah, polymer. But yeah.
Is there warranty, any type of warranty with that type of siding?
Yes, there is.
And it is?
I believe it's I wouldn't quote me, but I want to say it's a 10-year, I believe. But we can provide that information. It's either 10 or 15.
How long has this kind of product existed?
This specific spec, well, I don't know exactly this exact certainty spec, but they're making modifications periodically. So I would say for this particular product type, this isn't something that's dated 10 years. I mean, this is something relatively one of their newer lines that we're using. But that information we can research and provide. I'm confident it's one of the newer lines based on what we've reviewed with certainty. But I think this picture that my partner put up is the most compelling because it has all the three materials that we're proposing. Gable shake above the garage, board and batten above the garage and the bigger gable, and it's got the lap siding to the right there. You can see by the windows and also on the side portion of the facade. And they're using stone for their water table. We're going to be using a brick. We had asked for a thin brick. This is more based, guided on the National Green Building Standards. Candidly, transparency, price-wise, there's not a big difference. So, I mean, I think, my partner would agree with me that if we feel that the deviation is, a less of a deviation if we provide a full-course brick, but the vinyl siding, that would be something that we would certainly welcome and work with the council on. But we do feel strongly from long-term maintenance, appearance, and just also more affordability on the front end, but better long-term value that the polymer vinyl spec that we've provided is going to better serve the project in terms of appearance, but also bringing the project to fruition. As Doug had alluded to, we had worked with Sewer Pack in terms of the secondary environmental corridor, and we've lost approximately 6 to 8 units in that process. And so every time we lose units, it just becomes more difficult in terms of the infrastructure costs we're putting in. So at 134 units, we're 2.68 units to acre, and I would just like to stress again, that is not a traditional multifamily development. This is something different that we're bringing to Oak Creek, as he said, targeting baby boomers, empty nesters, active seniors primarily. And so we would appreciate your consideration on that variance.
How many of your buildings are going to incorporate what you see here is that 3 different materials that are obvious, or maybe even 4 in that building?
How many we're going to incorporate the cedar shake?
The stone veneer, how many will incorporate the stone?
Oh, I'm sorry. We won't be using a stone. On the pictures, we're using a brick, and it's going to be a lighter brick, a white brick.
How many of them? What percentage? All of them?
All of them, yes.
All of them,
So,
some of some sort?
yeah, it'll be a brick water table going around the entire perimeter of the building. That is something that we did not ask for a variance for a deviation. So I want to make that clear. We're honoring that per the code. Our main request, it comes back to the siding.
Alderman Kirkowski, First District. You said these are rental units. Can you have like a base price what they might be from the 1-bedroom to the 3-bedroom?
Sure. So there's 5 unit types. Excuse me. There's an A, B, C, D, and then an F, the 3-bedroom. So we have 2 variations of a 2, 2 variations of a 1. We're starting at roughly on the low end $1,700 for a 1-bedroom. And keep in mind when you factor that in, that includes snow removal, landscaping. You're not paying insurance that you would for a single-family home. And then the high point, we're at $2,900 for the largest 3-bedroom unit. But those are the high and the low. So then, and there's ranges depending on where it's located on the site plan, what its view is, et cetera.
I don't have any more questions, but I have comments on it now or later.
Go for it.
The first resident has I think made a valid point with regards to our new zoning codes and how much time was spent, and then seems like right out of the block we're looking for somebody to ask for a variance from it, and so I don't have. Well, first off, I don't want to see thin brick, and secondly, I don't personally have a problem with the brick going up. I thought I saw on your slides it was like, it's gonna go up like 3 feet.
That is correct, yep.
I have a problem with a unit being all vinyl siding. If you're gonna put brick on all of the units up 3 feet and then vinyl siding the rest of the way, I could live with that variance, but like I said, the resident had a good point. We're already looking for a variance on something that took months to create, and how many more of these are we gonna get? Well, we did it for this guy, you're gonna have to do it for this guy. So either we stick to our guns and we say no, because that's the way the zoning code is, or we scrap that whole chapter and do it all over again, because I can foresee other issues coming down the road. That's my comment. So as it stands tonight with regards to, I know there was a change made from the thin brick to the regular brick. I don't have a problem with that, but unless we agree on having brick 3 feet up on all of the units, not some of these concepts that we see, then I would not support this until those changes are made.
And just to be clear, sir, we have at no time proposed all siding. We are proposing that brick will be on every one of the facades. So and every rendering we've showed has that.
No, I thought I saw some there.
That all white one just difficult to see because it's on the screen, but there's white brick at the bottom of it.
No, wasn't there a picture in there with the rendering where the house was all?
Yeah, those were pictures that our certainty rep sent us of the exact spec going up. These renderings here, not actual pictures, are what we're proposing. Just to be clear, we are proposing a 3-foot high masonry water table around the entirety of every single one of the buildings in this community. And so we've never asked for a variance for that at all.
Is that in the document that we were talking about tonight?
We'll make sure it's clarified that there's no reference to thin brick at all.
No. All right. There's no I mean, the thin brick is a change that we're talking about. But is there something in this document that says that every unit will have 3 feet of brick?
There isn't, and there's not to say that the council cannot do that. Typically, they have left those architectural items in the purview of the Plan Commission. But if it's something that the council feels that they want to incorporate in the conditions and restrictions, we can certainly do that.
Well, I don't want to approve something tonight, then well, you know, then the Plan Commission or the developer says, well, you didn't approve it at the council, we can go ahead and do this or do that. If we're going to approve this tonight, that language needs to be, from my opinion, it needs to be in the motion that we make if we get that far tonight. Or you come back next meeting and with your samples and everything cleaned up and whatever the case may be.
I think Andrew has a point.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate, I wasn't trying to turn you all into site review or architectural review members, plan commissioners. You have representation of your council on the Plan Commission. So what was expressed to me and what I'm expressing to you are some objections that have been raised, and I know that the discussion was robust at the Plan Commission, and they thought that they would have an opportunity at the site review portion of this to review that. So an outcome of this conversation could be, yes, okay, it's fine to leave in the ordinance, but we want the Plan Commission members to know that, you know, use your, I guess, sharpen your pencil and use that discretion when they have the sample products and they can actually touch and feel and see a full board of this versus a picture or a, you know, conceptual rendering. That's a logical outcome too, because again, I'll reiterate, you know, we all feel in this building, and I know several of you certainly, this is a real big need to fill in this community. This is a great product. They're dealing with a very challenging parcel to work with. And, you know, in the end, it's a great use for the site, and it'll be very, very popular. So maybe that's a kind of a halfway, just express your concerns that, you know, we had some more discussion at the council, and, you know, Plan Commission, please use your best discretion to really touch and feel those materials.
So Andrew, let me be clear on this. So if we do approve tonight, Planning Commission will still have the opportunity to once again be certain that the materials that are going to be used for this development are in fact quality materials.
Yes, and as you know, there's two of you and the mayor on
And the
that,
mayor,
on
right.
that group as well.
Okay.
And a staff member.
Okay.
So,
Well, Andrew, just to kind of round up all the rest of the verbal wrestling we've had here, the primary concern is the inclusion of the variance that would give vinyl siding as a primary exterior building material. Is the kind of crux to the concern. You, Doug?
Yes, that's correct.
Comfortable with the fact that if we adopt the ordinance as it's currently drafted, that the planning commission would have enough discretion after review of these materials that they could do what they see fit? Or is that too broad to leave that in the ordinance as it's written?
I think that, and I don't want to put myself in the position of a plan commission member, but I would say that the decision to use or to allow the use of the final material is a policy decision. And if this council were to allow that as part of these conditions and restrictions, I think the plan commissioner, I as a plan commissioner would feel kind of predisposed to allow that when I approve the site and building plans as well.
Well, I mean, we understand materials are evolving, especially now when cost factors are rapidly evolving in buildings. We see it on the lakefront, we see it other places. So we obviously need to think about things that need to change and be modified. But we also don't want to set a precedent that really puts us in a bad spot for future developments that are going to.
I mean, I agree, and I certainly echo your comments about the evolution of building materials, and I even think that on some of the building architecture that Andrew mentioned earlier, that does technically qualify. It's some materials that we probably wouldn't have allowed previously. With some of the fiber cement products and the things that are out there right now, I mean, that's.
So can you qualify the primary vinyl as a primary exterior building material subject to something as a condition, or don't we need to?
I mean, I'd have to defer to Doug on that.
I don't know how we can have a blanket, what constitutes primary. It's going to be mostly vinyl, with the exception of the base course of brick. And I think one of the things that, and again, not being on the plan commission, that entered into their discussions was that the profile of these buildings was not like a typical multifamily development where you've got 2, 3, 4 stories. And certainly I would hope that, there would be a very different discussion it actually was a very different discussion had someone proposed to use vinyl for a primary material on something that's got a much higher profile. I think these are more akin to single-family ranches, and you can see with the base course of the brick that's out there and with the roof lines, it's not a huge is a relative term, but I mean, it seems to be in proportion with the scale of the house. That makes sense?
The problem is that you don't typically tear buildings down once you approve them.
Yep.
So I'm not sure what you guys are comfortable with. Greg, sorry. Yeah, you've been on this committee a long time. Just from background information.
Just a couple questions. Was vinyl your plan from the beginning, or did that change as building costs went up?
It was the plan from the beginning.
Okay. And then with the National Green Building Standard, I understand that you're going for that certification with vinyl. However, is that the only material you can use for that certification, or is there material that fits the code that would still allow you to get that certification?
Yeah. So the answer to that, I think when we had that discussion on the National Green Building Standards, was more around the brick, and it was just a discussion of thin and full course. With the certification, whether it's vinyl or fiber cement, from a construction standpoint, I don't think there's going to be any difference in that. I think when they evaluate the maintenance and long-term performance of the building, and not thermal, just in terms of maintenance, having to repaint it, moisture, things of those natures, I think it does have a slight impact. But to be honest with you, it's not a huge difference, because there's probably 13 chapters in that scorecard that they go through that add up to a total scorecard points that you have to get to qualify for it. So,
Okay, thank you. And then just some comments. I guess I would tend to agree with Alderman Kirkowski that I do definitely have reservations straying from the new code that was adopted, since it is so close to that actually being adopted. And I also recall some other recent developments where we did deny use of vinyl. I believe the multifamily going up on 27th Street, we denied it. I understand this is a different product, but definitely have reservations allowing it here when we just denied it so recently somewhere else. However, I do recognize that according to the report, staff initially supported this. I wasn't present at the Plan Commission meeting, but it did pass with the exception of one no vote. So I hesitate to go against both the commission and staff. My comments.
I'm just playing devil's advocate then. If we approved an ordinance that did not approve of including in the PUD and conditions, restrictions, vinyl as a primary exterior building material, could staff and planning commission adopt that as a subsequent piece when they come through with actually materials and site plan review?
Not without a text amendment or an amendment to the PUD.
So really, I mean, I believe this is the second district, correct? Greg, is this by
This
you
is
or
not,
is
this is 6.
this is over by you? So, I mean, Alderman Guzikowski's on the Plan Commission, Greg's on the Plan Commission. They've heard your conversation tonight. The mayor has had several conversations with staff. The takeaway from the Plan Commission wasn't, we love it, we love vinyl, make sure we firmly recommend that that's in our PUD ordinance. The conversation was, I guess we can include it because we're going to get to see and touch and feel what it actually is. And if it's some new age product, which all vinyl is new age product, when the Plan Commission and the council are, the Oaks at 8100, that was probably brand new vinyl siding that week that came out in the market. I don't disagree with the comments that Doug had made on the proportionality of this building. There are very big differences between those buildings that were approved where that was turned down in these buildings. But it seemed to me that if you're comfortable, given the conversation, defer to the Plan Commission to actually review those building materials up close and personal. It doesn't, I guess I disagree with Doug a little bit in that that's predisposed because we have 2 Plan Commission members up here and a staff member and a mayor that have a vote. So I wouldn't say you are setting, the table and there can be no further conversation about that by including it in the ordinance this evening. I think you're just saying, let the folks that are going to be seeing those materials and having a conversation with the developers about those materials make that decision. So that's what you really have to get comfortable with or not.
And that was, thank you, my understanding too from the last PC meeting, that we would be afforded the opportunity to bring in physical samples and material boards to have an opportunity for the Plan Commission to review it and to determine if it was appropriate. Because as you stated with vinyl, there's all different price range and manufacturers. So there's different levels of quality. So I feel like for it to be a fair review that we should be able to bring in the quality materials that we're proposing as opposed to just using the generic term vinyl.
Brief comment. Since this is our last kick at the can, I have a problem approving it as written and then allowing the Plan Commission to say, yeah, we like what we see, go ahead, even though it may not be in line with the code, because we're giving them the authority to, I see it, to do what they think is right, even though we may not agree with it because we don't get to see the final product come back to us after tonight. So my concerns is if I have issues with what they want to do, bring it back, let us see what they want to do, and then it's on us with regards to.
The other side of that, Steve, is this council rarely gets down to the ticky-tack of looking at building materials.
You're right, and that's why we have all the commissions to do.
Yeah,
but every now and then something comes up where there's disagreement or where we just got to do it the. I won't say that city's name, but that way.
I don't know the difference between. Greg, sorry.
One last question. If we approve this as is, and they come to the next plan commission meeting with the materials, and the plan commission decides they do not like that material, what recourse is there, or can they say, well, we're allowed vinyl, so you have to pick a vinyl?
I think given the rather detailed history and record regarding this development, any applicant would be hard pressed to make that such a binary decision. I think any developer, and especially one that we believe as sophisticated as this developer, knows what they need to bring in order to get such a material approved by the Plan Commission.
Sorry, Doug, the development on Drexel Avenue for Abendschein, or directly west of Abendschein.
Yeah.
Two families, single family, attached. The Plan Commission reviewed the building materials and site and buildings, essentially the architecture for those buildings.
Well, yes and no. I mean, being two-family residential, the Plan Commission will not approve a building plan for each building. What they did is they approved building standards.
Which is what we would be doing here, given these are single-family attached, correct?
But given that these are more than two-family buildings, the Plan Commission will also have to approve the buildings. Yeah.
Melissa did remind me too, we have to clarify in the ordinance we'll vote on what the thin brick that was cited in the recommendation, I think, versus the full course brick, Doug.
Well, the thin brick was mentioned in a motion by the Plan Commission, that being a recommendation. The conditions and restrictions actually do include the 3-inch brick.
Okay. We're settled on mandating the 3-inch. Goose, you got anything else?
No.
Anything else, Andrew? Compelled to make a motion?
Yeah. Are we going to keep, do I have to just add in 3-inch brick along the way here someplace?
That's all right, Doug, right, that is
No.
incorporated in the ordinance as drafted, right?
Yeah, I don't see a need to include that. It's already in the conditions and restrictions.
Okay.
So if you, you can make the motion to adopt it as written.
Yep.
That would assume the vinyl as the building material. That's your call.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. Guzikowski makes a motion that the Common Council adopts ordinance number 3049, an ordinance to rezone portions of the properties at 2231 West Puch Road, 8843 South 13th Street, 8950 South 20th Street to RD2 family residential. No change to the FW, floodway, freight, FF, flood bridge, or C1 shoreland wetland conservancy districts, planned unit development.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Marshall.
Nay.
Gale, sorry.
Aye.
Kuzi,
Aye.
sorry. Kirkowski,
No.
Lorick,
Aye.
and Dukenyak.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All right. Second public hearing, item moving on to number 7, comprehensive plan amendment. Sorry, did you have something? Consider amendment to comprehensive plan City of Oak Creek adopted as it relates to property at 7977 South 13th Street. Chris, do you want to read that into the record?
Public hearing number 2 is to consider an amendment to the comprehensive plan, City of Oak Creek, adopted March 3rd, 2020, last amended March 1st, 2022, as it relates to the property at 7977 South 13th Street. The applicant is Dariela Romero, Anguana Seal Coating. The property owner is Anguana Seal Coating and Striping, LLC. There follows the legal description, and the date of the notice is July 6, 2022.
Great, thanks. Doug or Matt? Doug?
Why don't you give me a second here while we're trying to get the tech back up. Okay. Sorry, apologies. The second public hearing this evening is on a requested comprehensive plan amendment. Affecting the property at 7977 South 13th Street. So this is the property, it's highlighted on red on your screen, on 13th, west side of 13th Street, south of Drexel. Current zoning is RS3, which is single-family residential. The previous use to this was single-family residential. The proposal is to change the land use category from single-family detached to commercial. But the actual proposed use of that would be for an asphalt maintenance, concrete, paving, and striping company. Just a note, as it has been throughout this process with this property owner and applicant, that an endorsement or any endorsement of a comprehensive plan change is not necessarily an endorsement of any proposed rezoning, conditional use permit, or site plan for the proposed use. And in fact, the commercial land use designation would not support the proposed use for that type of contractor shop, especially if there's outdoor storage involved. Just a bit of history of the property. Again, it was a residential use until the sale to the applicant, and the uses that have appeared on the property did not receive local approval, and as the applicant will tell you, that is due in large fact to some of the information that was, and to be more specific, not provided to her or to them by the prior owner. Again, we did suggest to the owner that there are certain processes that need to be undertaken should the proposed use be allowed to exist at that property. But I think tonight we are talking about the comprehensive plan and the land use associated with the comprehensive plan. And as such, I think you can see that the proposed change to commercial really is consistent with the neighborhood and the fact that it is adjacent to commercial to the north, and is really, there's kind of a transition between the properties, as you get closer to Drexel Avenue and the more traditional single family to the south. The Plan Commission, in their deliberations regarding the proposed use, did take that into account, and they, after much discussion, actually did recommend to change the land use to commercial from single family detached. So with that, and I understand there'll be a lot of discussion with respect to the proposed use, but I think it's important that we consider that we are discussing a comprehensive plan amendment and land use change here. And that this is a public hearing. I would request that anyone has any questions or comments regarding the proposed change to the comprehensive plan future land use map for the property at 7977 South 13th Street to please approach the microphone, give your name, address, and proceed to address your comments or questions to the common council. This public hearing is now open.
Great, thank you, Doug. I'll make 3 calls for public commentary. First call. Sir, name and address for the record.
Sure. Attorney Michael Mastelman.
Mike, want to pull that microphone down?
Sure. Attorney Michael Mastelman, 8989 Northport Washington Road, Milwaukee 53217, and I'm representing the owner, Dariella Romero, who is here. We're here to answer any questions. There's not going to be any outdoor storage. Trucks will be leaving in the morning and coming back at night. We've reached out to all the neighbors that are around there. They support us. There were some neighbors here at the Plan Commission meeting. They supported us. And this is, like was pointed out, this is an amendment to the comprehensive plan. We have to go back, I think, for a special use where we'll have to jump through some other hurdles.
Great. We appreciate you introducing yourself, and we'll be back if you have questions. Great, thanks. Call number 2 from the public. Call number 3. All right, great. We'll close the public hearing then and open it up to discussion of the common council.
Alderman Dukniak, third, oops,
Sorry, Steve. Steve first, yeah.
go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. Alderman Kirkowski, First District. So no outside storage, there won't be any, I briefly read through the Plan Commission stuff. With regards to asphalt and stuff like that, there won't be any piles of asphalt shavings dumped there either temporarily or anything like that. And how wide is that narrow strip of land, and what do you plan to, is that just part of the purchase? I mean, it's not usable for anything, it's just part of it?
We might put down asphalt. I'm kidding.
So it's just there, right? Okay, all right, thanks.
Yes, Alderman Dukniak, third district. I did drive by there today because I wasn't fully familiar with that area. I go, okay, that makes sense. But the current area, there's gravel there, correct? And I don't know if it's been discussed at planning or Doug, or is it a code requirement that will have to be either asphalt or concrete at some point?
You know, I think given the topic of the discussion about the land use, I'm not comfortable discussing the site details
Okay.
this evening.
We're prepared to do whatever
Okay.
is required.
I appreciate comments from both. Thank you.
See anything? Lisa? Great.
Oh, I have no concerns. I've got no calls from residents, no concern over this.
I don't have anything to add. Interesting thing, but I will entertain a motion.
Clerk moves to adopt ordinance 3050, an ordinance adopting an amendment to the comprehensive plan, City of Oak Creek, for the property at 7977 South 13th Street.
And Dukniak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good luck. We're gonna table item number 9, right, Max? That's true. Max, number 10, informational mid-year budget report.
Thank you, Common Council. Max Gagan, Assistant City Administrator, Comptroller. So before you tonight is our mid-year budget report. So included with your materials was a financial statement showing activities through June 30th of this year, as well as a presentation, and we'll go through the presentation tonight. So the following charts and graphs that are depicted are, again, our mid-year performance compared to our 22 budget. And really the focus is on the revenues and expenditures in our major funds being general fund, solid waste, We Energies, health insurance, EMS, and consolidated dispatch. You know, I'll refer to items in both the financial statement as well as the presentation. So looking at our general fund revenues, general fund being our largest fund, you can see revenues are trending at 59% of budget and expenditures at 41% of budget. And if you take a look at the financial report, I included a column this year that just shows where the percentage of our 2021 budget was. So kind of providing some context, because not all revenues are collected on a straight line budget. Most of our expenses are incurred on a straight line budget, given that 75% of our expenses are personnel costs. So you can see last year we had about 60.4%. So revenue is trending a little bit less than budget. And then expenditures last year were at 44.05%. So considerably less than where we were last year. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So looking at our significant revenues, you can see property taxes are at 91%. That's pretty common. You know, we collect most of our property taxes in the first half of the year. Settlement occurs in July, so end of July will be at 100%. Our next highest is license permits. You'll see about 89% of the budget collected so far through mid-year, and that's trending really well. Last year we were about 77%. So again, we're seeing very strong development activity in the community. That's resulting in license and permit fee revenue. as well as we're seeing really good collections in our public health and safety. So about 74% of budget, 73, 74% of budget. Last year, we were about 25%. So looking very good. One thing that is a detriment you'll see this year is our commercial revenues. We're about 6% currently, and last year we were at about 35%. Part of the reason why is this does include our interest earnings, and given some of the volatility in the marketplace earlier in the year, we're seeing some unrealized losses in our interest earnings. So not trending as well, but interest rates have really picked up. Hopefully that's going to turn around in the second half of the year and moving towards the future. Looking at our expenditures by function, what you'll see is that all of our functions are under budget, or under a straight line budget, except leisure services. Leisure services is trending a little bit higher, and that's primarily due to the recreation program, the joint program with the school district. We have already made our second of our 2 payments to the school district in June, so that budget's 100% spent. So if anything, if we were to take that out, I think the leisure services end, we'd actually be trending less. But you can see significant savings in the general government side, public safety, a little bit, and health and public works. This next slide is just showing each individual department budget, where we're at, and then the percent of budget on the far right side. I do have highlighted in red some of those that are trending over that straight line budget, 50%. But what you'll see is, first I just want to point out, there's many general government, you see admin services, HR, finance. There's a lot of budgets, treasurer, trending 25, 30, 35%. And if you look at last year and years prior, that's actually pretty abnormal and it's low. And the blessing being that there's savings to the taxpayer, the curse being that we're having difficulties filling vacant positions. And that's causing other challenges when it comes to human resources in the organization. So we are realizing financial savings, but it does come at a cost to those departments and employees. You'll see there are 2 that are trending a little bit above. You'll see IT at 50%, 50.11%. Last year it was at about 52%. So in the grand scheme of things, in better shape than past years. Again, they have a lot of annual licenses we pay in January, really early in the year. Then a small overage right now, trending for the city administrator's office. Looking at the second half of the general fund, just items of note, you'll see police department at about 43, 44%, trending very close to past years. And then you also see the fire department, 45%. So last year we were closer to about 55%. We were having some challenges with staffing, FMLA, and we were seeing a lot of overtime. So just happy to report that not seeing those challenges this year, not seeing as much overtime, and fire department is trending, which is great. And then you'll see on recreation, just over 100%. Again, we've made our full payment to the school district for our joint program. This next slide is showing the revenues versus expenditures for the other major funds. So you'll see solid waste is collected about 91% of its budget. Again, primarily funded through the tax levy. And that tax levy is primarily collected through the first half of the year. You'll see about 48% of expenses. This budget really trends with a straight line. It's mostly contractual costs for GFL, for refuse and recycling. On our We Energies fund, so just for the Common Council's awareness, this is the $2.5 million we received from We Energies as a mitigation payment. We did receive that on June 30th, so 100% of revenue, about 20% of expenses. We will have some year-end transfers. It does pay for some of our debt service, and we'll right-size those expenditures as we do year-end closeout. Our health insurance fund, you'll see, happy to report just about over 50% revenues collected, about 47.5% expenses. And I know we've had some challenges with health insurance in the past, and it just seems like things have normalized in the last year and a half. And we're actually trending better than where we were last year. So really great to see things are normalizing in this regard. You'll see our EMS revenues at about 74%. Again, a lot of it's tax levy. The other portion is ambulance fees. Ambulance fees are trending right at budget right now. You can see their expenses at about 46% of budget. Their expenses trend generally straight line, mostly personnel costs. And then lastly, dispatch, you'll see about 83% revenues collected. Primary revenue source, again, property taxes collected pretty early in the year. But on the expense side, about 48%, again, trending below that straight line, which is great. And even considering we had that compensation and wage adjustments, and that took effect late May, so even in having a month of that, to still be under is really good news from what we're seeing. And then lastly, just wanted to provide the council on some perspective on where we're at regarding some of our commodities, utility, fuel, so on and so forth. So what you'll see is on electric and water, we're spending about 40% of our budget so far. Natural gas is a little bit higher at 63%. We've seen increases in prices. I know there's been some scarcity, as well as I think just a little bit colder weather for winter than what has been in the past. But one thing that is encouraging is if you look at fuel, you see it's at 52.9%. Just given the dramatic increase in fuel prices, that tells me that our budgets were adequate enough to compensate much of that. I can tell you, looking at last year, we're at about 41.5% of budget. So certainly we're much higher than where we were. But I guess where this gives me optimism is that as we move into the next budget, there may not be as much we need to adjust on the fuel line item, in aggregate. Looks like we're fairly close, and especially if prices come back down. So that is encouraging. I'm aware of other municipalities who really budgeted this tight, and they're thinking about how do I got to make up 100,000 or so on and so forth in fuel prices. So I think we're very fortunate in that regard. So that's all I had. Certainly, I'm happy to answer any questions the common council may have.
Great, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you keeping track of things. Any questions for Max? Some of us have seen this a couple of times already, so.
No question for Max, actually for Matt. Given the fuel costs, how much of our fleet is diesel? I know those prices are still staying pretty high. I mean, 5%, 10% of our fleet?
Well, it's higher than that with a lot of our plow trucks. So, but this time of year, it's more of the special equipment that requires the diesel fuel. So, but I would say a good percentage is, I honestly don't know the number exactly, but I would say at least 40%.
Who's?
Nothing.
Right, cool. Thanks, Max. Great, we're going to move on then to item number 11. Consider motion to approve the above-ground diesel storage tanks and piping installation project and award the construction contract to the lowest responsive bidder, Interstate Pump and Tank, based on the bid amount of $289,000. Carly?
Yeah, I'm going to take this one. So I'm Carly Pearson, Management Assistant, representing DPW tonight. So just a little bit of history. So the Department of Public Works currently has a 40-year-old below-ground diesel tank. And these fuel pumps and tanks are inspected every year. And the department has been informed that the sumps that are underneath the fuel dispensers are beginning to collapse just due to the soil weight that surrounds them. So in 2022, we submitted the storage tank certification to the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, and it was certified, but we did have to do some kind of temporary repairs in July of 2022 just to get that through the inspection. So if that certification were to have failed, those fuel dispensers would have to be shut down, and we'd have to rely on retail fuel purchases, which can definitely be difficult with some of our bigger machinery, taking that to gas stations and such. So even with that most recent certification that we just received, doing those small repairs, the tank is showing some signs of leakage. which could cost the city a considerable amount of money if that soil then had to be remediated. So there would actually be some separate bid items in addition to the amount that's before you tonight that would be for addressing the soil contamination if they were to find that when they excavate. But staff is recommending that we replace the current fuel island that we have and the sumps that are located underneath the island. We also want to install a canopy and then remove and replace the 40-year-old diesel tank with a 10,000 gallon above ground tank. And then we would also like to add an above ground tank for the municipal service building generator as well, because previously this generator was fed from the below fuel tank, and it's actually much more cost effective if you have it above ground because it's closer then to the building, so you don't have to pump it as far. So basically, for all of this repair that would need to be done, we would need to dig out the fuel island, re-pour, and then reinstall the equipment. And then while we're already there, installing a canopy over the fuel island is something we'd like to do as well, just because it's it's typical with most fuel stations today, and then could also minimize the potential for fuel interactions with water that could run off into Oak Creek. And I'll kind of touch on it later, but we would be eligible for some stormwater funding as well if we did the canopy part. So we did receive 3 different proposals, and we believe that all 3 firms are definitely adequate and capable of completing the work. But all in all, as you see in your packets tonight, that we would recommend awarding the construction contract to the low bid Interstate Pump and Tank out of Waukesha in the amount of $289,000. And up to $20,000 of that, as I had mentioned, can be allocated from stormwater management budget. So that would bring us to within the $285,000 budget we have for this item. So Matt and I can answer any questions that you have.
Alderman Dukenyak, 3rd District, you mentioned that the tank area is inspected yearly. As part of that inspection, are there soil tests done?
Actually answer that.
Oh, okay.
As an employee of DATCAP, we do not do soil inspection.
So
we don't know.
No, but I will say that going from an underground tank to an above ground tank is an excellent decision.
And I'll agree with that also. This is coming from a personal perspective. I owned a property that had underground storage tanks and had a huge project to remediate that area. What happens if they find contaminated soil upon removing that underground tank?
I think it would be a matter of, removing that soil.
Yeah, is
there any consideration or a contingency plan in place for that?
We do have a contingency of about $16,000 that we would have available that would take out around 200 tons of soil or so.
$16,000 would take out 200 tons of soil? I think that's what I had far less than that, and it cost almost $750,000.
Okay, I must have figured that out.
Yeah, I would think there's probably going to be.
Yes, I could speak to that, Alderman Dukenyak.
Okay.
Within the bid that was received by Interstate Pump, they did provide us with additional costs to remove any contaminated material and backfill. So we do have per unit cost that were provided by them. So I think that's probably how Matt had figured on the quantity. So there is a contingency plan. We do have dollars associated with it and unit costs provided.
Okay. And I mean, you guys know very, very well that anytime you're removing an underground storage tank, it's a scary proposition about what the DNR wants done in that area. So you just hope and pray that there's no dirty soil there.
Right. During the construction and the renovation of the DPW 6-7 years ago, most of that soil was managed.
Oh, it was,
in that
okay.
area. When we encountered it with the lifts, the installation of those.
Okay.
Which at the cost section.
I missed that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, they're hard to see. So you want to notice them.
Let's
Steve,
get-
you got something?
Yeah.
Alderman Kirkowski, first district. While we're talking about storage tanks and fuel and stuff like that, do you foresee down the road with the regular gas, unleaded gasoline tanks going through this process? Are we looking near the end of the service life of those pumps too?
The unleaded tank is actually already above ground,
But-
and the pumps and everything have been replaced more recently.
Okay.
So we should be in
Like-
good shape
Okay.
once this is
And
completed.
lightheartedly, if we find contaminated soil, you just divert one of those trucks going to the lakefront to send them on down over there. Plenty of dirt in those trucks.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Who's anything?
Nothing.
Lisa?
I do have a question. So are we taking out one tank and putting in two?
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to be sure because
Yes. Yeah. Currently, the tank has a line that's running to the building to run the generator for our facilities
so you're
there.
going to separate that as a separate tank.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Carly and Matt, obviously this is the project that was approved last fall when our CEP project. The 289 in the 20, or the 285 in the 20, is the 20 part of the 285 or is the 20 incremental to the 285 in terms of funding source?
We had approved it was 285 with the budget, and then there's an additional 20,000 that would be available
On
through
top
the stormwater utility.
Available or incremental to that for the canopy? Well, there's 289 covers the project as bid.
So there would be the canopy is included in the 289.
It is, okay.
Yes.
So 285 is allocated through the budgeting process, at 20 if we needed it. Good enough for me. All right, we'll take everyone done?
Yeah.
Great. A motion on 11 then.
Kirkowski make a motion to approve the above-ground diesel storage tanks and piping installation project and award a construction contract to the lowest responsive responsible bidder, Interstate Pump and Tank, based on the bid amount of $289,000.
Marshall second.
Great, thanks. Roll call, please.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye. Great, thank you. Item number 12 is the always controversial official designation of the celebration of trick or treat. We consider a motion to concur with the Celebrations Commission to designate Sunday, October 30th from 4 to 7 as the official City of Oak Creek trick or treat. Comments, questions, concerns, anybody? Lay low and stay out of the way, right? All right. I'll take a motion on that.
Guzekowski will make a motion to adopt authorizing, hold on. What am I looking at?
You won't have a sheet like that. You have to look at your agenda.
No council report, Goose.
Back up. Guzekowski makes a motion that the Common Council adopt Celebrations Commission to and designate Sunday, October 30th, 2022 from 4 to 7 p.m. as the official Oak Creek trick or treat.
Kirkowski will second.
Got that?
It was
I'm
it
not
was a
sure.
tie.
Better
It was a tie.
All right, roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Great. Engineering. Matt, you get to chime in tonight. Item number 13 is a motion to authorize the engineering department to enter into a contract for professional services not to exceed $21,388 between the City of Oak Creek and Gray for the analysis of the intersection of West Putes Road and South Liberty Lane and South Wood Creek Drive.
Oh, excuse me, thank you. Good evening, council. Matt Sullivan, the city engineer. Before you, you have a motion to consider authorizing the engineering department to enter into a contract with Grafe in regards to the planning and analysis of the intersection of Pewits and Liberty Lane. As you all are aware, the intersection at Liberty Lane and Pewits is a very busy, well-traversed intersection, and it has continued to increase. We were provided under the 2022 budget to request an RFI or RFP for services to design that, analyze it. We put that bid out, or that RFP out. We received only one response. We had a number of consultants call and question. A number of them pulled, but we only had one. We reviewed the bids, proposals that was provided by Grave. We requested that it be broken into two phases, one for analysis, and then once that analysis was done, a preferred alternative would be brought forward to either Bob Walker or the council for approval. And at that point, we would go into a design phase. So they brought back costs for both phases. Those costs, if chosen through roundabout and the analysis, we would be well over our budget. Therefore, we are only requesting that phase one be authorized by council tonight. And then after the analysis were brought back forward, under the 2023 budget, we'll be requesting for that additional funding to cover design of full roundabout or whatever is determined at that point. I'm here for any questions.
Matt? Straightforward stuff. All right, we'll take a motion then on item number 13.
Clerk moves to authorize the engineering department to enter into a contract for professional services not to exceed $21,388 between the city of Oak Creek and Grafe for the analysis of the intersection of West Putes Road, South Liberty Lane, and South Wood Creek Drive.
Dukenyak, second.
Okay, roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Great. As I mentioned earlier, item number 14, we're going to hold, so we'll take a motion to hold that to date certain of this common council meeting of September 6th. Take care of that for me.
Clerk moves to hold item number 14 until the common council meeting of September 6th, 2022.
Dukenyak, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Item number 15, then it's a consider resolution 12350-081622 approving a certified survey map submitted by Daniel Katona for the property at 9630 South Shepherd Avenue.
Thank you. The property at 9630 South Shepherd Avenue is actually a through lot with both frontage on Shepherd Avenue and on Wintergreen Drive. The proposal before you this evening is to subdivide that parcel into subdividing the existing home with access off of Shepherd Avenue and a new lot which would take access off of Wintergreen Drive. You can see in the proposed CSM, both lots would continue to meet the minimum requirements of the zoning district, and staff and the Planning Commission has recommended approval of the CSM.
Rich, that's your district, any
Yep. No,
comments,
I have
questions,
received
concerns?
no no feedback from third district residents in regard to this request, and I have no objections to it.
Recall one other home in that, right in that neck of the woods had this same thing done a couple years ago. Anything else, anybody? Great, then I'll take action on item 15.
Okay, Dukenyak move to approve resolution number 12350-081622, approving a certified survey map submitted by Daniel Katona for the property at 9630 South Shepherd Avenue.
Marshall seconds.
Thanks. Roll call.
Alderwoman Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Yeah, you get to come front and center. Item number 16 is a resolution to consider number 12351-081622 approving a lease and agreement for exchange of dark fiber and rack space between the Wisconsin DOT, Division of Transportation System Development, and the City of Oak Creek. All yours.
All right, good evening, everyone. Kevin Koenig, IT Manager. This item is pretty straightforward. Our East Side Fiber project was something that the DOT was looking to interconnect their intersections on the east side. So that's along Highway 100 as well as Highway 32. And in return for us leasing them dark fiber, they're giving us 18 miles of dark fiber to get up to the zoo interchange, which will allow us to interconnect with other cities such as Wauwatosa, West Allis, Greenfield, and be able to add more shared services between the IT departments. And there's no cost.
We regularly interact with them.
City of Greenfield has been reaching out to us to get a connection to them because they want to house their backups with us.
And one thing I noted myself, there's no incremental cost to us.
The only cost,
Fiber's in the ground already, right?
yeah. So it's part of the what we're building is connecting to their intersections, and then they have whatever use they want for it. Same with us, we can have other cities use it, other school districts. One of the nice things is going to give us a connection to WISNET as well, which is a state-ran internet service provider. So it's a very cheap, prorated internet, which we'll be able to get as much speed as we want through that as well, which will enable us to offer public Wi-Fi at the parks and not impact city services through that.
Comments, questions, concerns? Great. Take action then on 16.
Kirkowski will make a motion to consider resolution number 12351-081622, approving the lease and agreement for exchange of dark fiber and rack space between the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, Division of Transportation System Development, and the City of Oak Creek.
Clark seconds.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
And Marshall. Aye.
Great. Next, 17, consider a motion to approve the agreement to grant permission to allow access and use of software agreement and system and consent to assignment of software licenses between Central Square Technologies LLC and Milwaukee County Emergency Management CAD-to-CAD software.
Sure. So this item is part of a countywide project to interconnect all of the dispatch centers for fire dispatching. Previous to this software being in place, anytime we had a fire and we needed mutual aid units, we had to radio every other fire station to see if their unit was available and then have them marked responding. What this software does is enables live time that it will pop up a request in every single dispatch center, and then they'll be able to say yes or no, and then the system will automatically go to the next available unit, therefore saving valuable minutes when fires responding to fire scenes. There's a cost to this as well. It is part of the 2022 budget for the CAD-to-CAD software, and it is also required as part of the Milwaukee County EMS contract.
Ongoing cost cover up front.
Ongoing costs, so that $12,750 per year is ongoing, and that's per dispatch station total. So the cost of that divided by 4.
And right now we do all this manually.
This system has been up and running for the last, went live in March after 2 years of implementation.
Questions, concerns, anything? Who's? All right.
Oh, good.
All right,
Sorry.
we'll take action then on 17.
Marshall moves to approve the agreement to grant permission to allow access and use of software agreement and systems, assets agreement, and consent to assignment of software licenses between Central Square Technologies LLC and Milwaukee County Emergency Management for CAD-to-CAD software.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye. Finally, then, for IT, item number 18 is consider a motion to approve a small municipal and county government enterprise agreement with S3 for geographic information software.
Yep, so this is the application that runs all of the mapping for the city. It's used in engineering, community development, DPW. We entered into this agreement originally in 2019. It was a 3-year agreement for $3,500 or $35,000 per year. They did increase the cost because they added a lot more applications that are included with that price now. The addition that we have on here that's noted as well is an additional $4,000 per year. That will add the geo event server, which will enable us to work with DPW and potentially host a public snowplow route map. So we could potentially tell them residents approximately when a snowplow will be down their street based on the route and what plows are covering, as well as additional traffic information for police and fire, and sharing traffic accidents to Google Maps, Waze, and other services.
Questions, comments, concerns? Take a motion on
Guzekowski makes a motion that the common council accept is that the right
that. 18, Goose.
18? Yep. I was reading the right one. That Guzekowski accepts small municipal and county government enterprise agreement E214-2 with ESRI for Geographical Information Systems GIS software.
Marshall seconds.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Kevin. Moving on then, License Committee, item number 19, I will turn that over to Alderman Kirkowski.
Thank you, Ken. Take it everybody's had an opportunity to review the 5 items on the Common Council report for tonight's meeting. Does anybody have any questions, cares, or concerns with the report? All right. Hearing none, Kirkowski make a motion to approve the various license requests as listed on the August 16th, 2022 License Committee report.
Dukniak second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Wrap things up then, we'll spend some money. Items 20 and 21 are the vendor summary reports. The item number 20 is to approve the July 26th, 2022 vendor summary report. The amount of $272,914.33. Questions, concerns to Max or Carly or whoever? Anybody? Rich, something we should know or not? No. All right.
I apologize.
All right.
Watch out for those salesmen.
Yeah.
You ride hoverboards.
All right. When do you guys take this? Lisa, are you?
Marshall moves to approve the July 26, 2022 vendor summary report in the total of $272,914.33.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Great, then we'll wrap it up. Item 21 is to consider motion to approve the August 10, 2022 vendor summary report in the amount of $1,130,016.42. Anybody? Questions, concerns? Otherwise, we'll take action.
Kirkowski make a motion to approve the August 10th, 2022 vendor summary report in the amount of $1,130,016.42.
Work seconds.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
That was definitely on the over. So I'll take a motion, entertain a motion to adjourn then, right? Or Steve, did you want to add anything, or you tell him we're good?
Add anything?
Yeah. No? All right. We're good.
I normally talk, but not right now.
Good. I don't want to befuddle and confuddle. So, all right. Motion to adjourn.
Marshall moves to adjourn.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Great. Thank you all.